So flash forward, and
Yeah.
you've raised your family, you've had a great career in South Florida, and then you and
Hmm.
Antoine make the great leap to Paris to live your dream, which is amazing.
Hmm.
How would you say you talked about sort of being interested in self-inquiry and really understanding yourself. How did that support you in that move? And as you became half of Les Frenchies that everyone is familiar with.
Well, I think that living a life of, like it's a conscious self-awareness, like a purposeful, practical self-awareness. I think that it gives me the idea that I could be anything. Like it's a different kind of a confidence. So if I wanted to try something new, I'm not going to be afraid of that because I think that my sense of security is in me. It's not in my situation. So it's okay to try different things. And I know like I've reinvented myself many times through my life. Um, Not trying to be somebody different, like I often see people, like, oh, I'm gonna do this now, or I'm gonna completely revamp my career or something, or my situation and things. But like starting something new while you're still being profoundly yourself. And so coming to France, um, I always wanted to, and I didn't think about it as courage. I thought about it as I'm doing something that I want to do. It wasn't until I was here living in it and all of the frustrations and the language barriers and not knowing the customs and I was told early on, like we're afraid you're going to leave and go back because it's really hard to make friends. Like, how are you going to have a community? Like, how are you going to do anything? And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to have any trouble with that. But it is very challenging. And I think that moving to a new country, like I know that you've made a leap yourself, but moving to a new country where everything is unfamiliar, you have to look within. Like if you don't know who you are at the core, it gets really hard to survive that. For most people, it just challenges your sense of self to the point where you have to retract and go, back to something normal or, maybe find an expat community to live inside of or something like that. But I think that having tools for self-inquiry is, I mean, I think it's just essential so that you can find yourself grounded wherever you are.
It totally makes sense. Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking about the role of values and all of that, like how
Hmm.
grounding values are. And I know in the Clarity course, part of what
Hmm.
you're doing is helping people kind of reconnect to their core
Hmm.
values. So maybe you could speak a little bit about how your sense of your own core values have allowed you to make those transitions and now into this new phase of your career and slash life.
Well, I think, for me, the values isn't just something that you care about. It's really who you are. And it's at the core of your self-expression. Like if that's who you are, then how the world knows that these things are important is how you live your life. And I think a lot of people don't live consistent with who they are. They live more like who they're supposed to be. But, I think I don't know why that's coming up for me, but I just go with whatever shows up. It's like gratitude is a really important and profound value in my life. And when I came here, there were so many people who were being so kind, and I didn't know how to say thank you. It's like merci just doesn't cover it. Um, and so it's like if that's who I am, if that's who I really care about, then it just finds a way out of you. Like when you're frustrated or you're sitting in self-pity or, want to curse somebody out for not understanding you when you tried so hard to get your message across or whatever. Like it's hard to remember those values when you're in that moment. And if you can consciously bring it forward, just little ways of being, like small self-expressions, like, come out of you. And I don't know if you can bring those things out if you're not fully aware of them. It's so easy to just fall into the moment, and it's ultimately it's a survival mechanism. It's like all of the things that we do in our lifetime that we learn how to not be ourselves. I mean, these are all survival mechanisms, and there comes a point when it doesn't work. But if you can remember the values behind that survival, then you can be yourself in tiny ways that that just seep out and get you back to grounded.